allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God.
Would you please call the roll, please?
Michelle Belcott, Karen Bowerman,
Here, now I'm off mute.
Molly Costin, here. Tim Garrett, Bart Hansen, Tim Hine,
Here.
Philip Johnson,
Yes, ma'am.
Ann McInerney Ogle,
Present.
Ty Stober, Ron Onslow.
Here. Thank you. I need a motion to approve the agenda.
Ann McInerney Ogle, move approval of the agenda.
Second, Ty Stober.
Been moved and seconded to approve the agenda as published. All those in, is there any questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Thank you very much. We have time set aside for public comment. If there is anybody online or anybody in the audience that wishes to speak, now is the time. None on the CVTV also? Okay, we will go into, we have the consent items. I think we already passed that, correct? Oh, we did not, all right. I need a motion for approval of the consent items, and there are 8 listed.
Move approval, Ty Stober.
Second, Molly Costin.
Been moved and second to approve the items of consent that are all published. Is there anybody that wishes to pull them or comment on that? Seeing none, all those in favor of passing the consent items as published signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Thank you very much. We will move into our action items. The contract award, 65th Campus Furniture Components. Staff report is Mr. Patterson.
All right, thank you, Chair, members of the board. This is staff report where we are seeking an award for a contract to Office Furniture Direct for the furniture acquisition associated with our 65th campus development project. As you know, and I think Sean's been keeping the board up to date and even sharing some pictures on occasion, construction continues to progress very well out at 65th. We've got the new maintenance building that is very near completion, and we're making significant headway on the operations building as well. When the board approved its budget, these are both line items, this action and the next action we have scheduled to take this evening. These are all funds that are included and already adopted in the biennial budget. So staff earlier this year released an invitation to bid. We had 3 proposers, and the low apparent bidder was Office Furniture Direct. And so the proposal that we're seeking this evening is for the C-TRAN board to authorize staff to enter into a 1-year contract with Office Furniture Direct for the furniture acquisition for the 65th Avenue Campus Development Project. And I'd be happy to take any questions if you have any.
Board, any questions about this?
Why would that be a 1-year contract as opposed to longer?
Yeah, so that would be all of the furniture that will be acquired would be acquired within that 1-year period. And so it's the action this evening is just to acquire all of the furniture needed for both of those buildings, and they'd be complete within the year.
And then who owns the furniture?
C-TRAN would.
Okay, very good.
Are there any other questions? I would accept the motion.
Move to approve, Ty Stober.
Mr. Johnson moves to accept contract award 65th Campus Furniture.
Second.
And Stober seconds it. Any questions or comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? Thank you very much. The contract award, 65th Campus Technology Equipment Staff Report, and I'm assuming Mr. Patter.
That is correct. Thank you. Thank you, Chair. This is a proposal seeking the board to award or allow staff to award the contract to Wright Systems Incorporated. This is for the IT components associated with both the new maintenance building as well as the operations building that is in construction. Similar to the previous issue that we just covered, earlier this year in May, we released an invitation to bid, and we also received 3 proposers for this one as well. The lowest apparent bidder is Wright Systems Incorporated. The total cost for the proposed contract is not expected to exceed $1.2 million, and the proposal here is for the CTRAN board to authorize staff to enter into the contract with Wright Systems for the technology and related components for the 65th Avenue development project. And once again, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Personally, I had one, and that is, it is for all of the buildings on the 65th, not here. It's, all of it is down there.
That's, well, all of the equipment that's associated with this would be at 65th, both in the maintenance building and the new operations building as well. I guess a couple of things to note. One is the existing IT equipment that is attached to and part of the maintenance building is all outdated. So that equipment is all being replaced as part of this project. IT teams had to work extra hard to kind of keep that equipment operational and functional in the maintenance building. So the cost here is a little bit more than we would typically see, but that's because we're replacing equipment that's outdated as well.
Okay. Board, any questions? Yes, Tim?
I have one. Thank you, Chair. Scott, what's the scope of, what's the definition of what's IT equipment, and is, what's the equipment? Does it include installation, service and repair, warranties, subscriptions? Just, you don't mind.
Sure, absolutely. Yes. So most of it is related to the server room. And in fact, we've got Brad Teed, who is our IT director, that could get into a lot more of the detail in terms of it. But I think the vast majority of the costs, probably right around 90%, are associated with the server and the related equipment with it. So, Brad, did you want to expand on that?
Yeah, I think you said it very accurately. The majority of this is infrastructure, new infrastructure for that site to support the new construction, as well as replacing outdated end-of-life infrastructure. And the minority of it is for workstations and peripherals.
And I do believe installation services are included in this contract as well.
Actually, IT staff are doing the installation. This is for materials.
Okay, thanks for clarification.
Does that answer your question?
One additional, if it's okay.
Sure.
What would be the anticipated useful life in time for replacement?
Oh, anticipated useful life is about 6 years on average. Different equipment have different mean time between failures, and so the average is about 6.
Any other questions?
Yes, sir.
Yes, Mr. Johnson?
Cloud services, is that cloud services included, or is that just hardware?
No cloud services. This is all hardware.
Thank you.
Will Board Member Johnson be able to navigate this?
Probably Probably, unless it has an advocate.
Is there any other questions? Seeing none, I'd accept the motion.
So move.
I move approval of the contract award for staff report designated number 23049.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to accept the contract award, or award the contract award to 65th Campus Technology to I don't know who it is to. Who is it to?
Right Systems.
Who?
Right Systems.
Right Systems? Is that RITE?
RIGHT.
RIGHT, Right Systems. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any questions or comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Passes. Thank you. Contract award, Legislative Services, State Staff Report number 23-050. Who's handling that?
That's me as well,
Ah.
Chair. Yeah, you
You
get
got
a
the
lot of
whole
me. I
meal deal.
apologize for that. But,
Okay.
yeah. Yeah. So this is seeking the award for a contract for, I should say, 2 Strategies 360 to continue as C-Trans lobbyist up in Olympia, Washington. As many of you know, C-Tran has contracted with lobbyists both at the state and federal levels for a number of years now. We have a very active state program, if you will. We're members of the Washington State Transit Association. Our lobbyist attends those meetings and participates on a very regular basis at the WISTA level. And then, of course, we go up very regularly and have a number of meetings and communications with our legislative delegation, including times during off session as well. And so C-Tran wants to be able to continue to aggressively actively pursue multiple grant opportunities, some of which are fairly new based on some recent legislation that passed. And then we also want to continue to seek direct appropriations to help support our capital build out, specifically, BRT, other facility and service related improvements as well. And so C-Tran sent the proposal out just about a year ago. We've gone through the evaluation with an evaluation team, and the recommendation was to once again re-up with Strategies 360 and continue that relationship there. I should note that this would be for a 2-year period with additional 1-year renewals based on both parties for an additional up to 3 years as well. So the proposal is that the C-Tran board approves the award of the contract to Strategies 360, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Board, any questions on the state legislative?
Chair, Ann McInerney Ogle, no questions. Just a note that I served on the evaluation team, and I have no problems with the appearance of fairness on this vote.
Other members? Yes, Tim?
Thank you. Just one, for clarification, Scott, who manages the consultant and provides them the direction on the objective?
I do, but I will say our CEO and other members of the executive team are very involved in that as well.
I would second Ann's thoughts about Strategy 360. I really like them. They're good people, and they're very attuned to this area, which is great. I would accept the motion if there's no other questions or comments for the legislative services statewide with Strategy 360. Anybody?
So moved. Second.
Mr. Johnson and Mr. Stover moved and seconded to accept the contract award for legislative services with Strategy 360. Any comments or questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Did I hear a no, or did I hear an aye? It's all ayes. Okay, thank you very much. We'll move on to contract award legislative services federal. I'm assuming that must be Scott Patterson.
Yes, but you'll be glad to know this is the last staff report action item that Scott has this evening. Thank you. So this is to award a contract to Van Scoyoc and Associates for that same contract duration that I mentioned with Strategies 360, which is an initial 2-year contract with up to 3 additional 1-year extensions upon mutual agreement. Similar to the state level, many of you know C-Tran is also very actively engaged in our federal program in Washington, D.C., through our own CEO, who's both on the board of APTA, as well as chairing the board of the Bus Coalition. There are many opportunities that we are able to utilize our federal lobbyists to help us advance our own agenda and seek those similar funding opportunities for C-Trans major projects and initiatives. We have contracted with Van Scoyoc, specifically Steve Palmer, for a number of years now, and this is seeking a similar renewal that I just talked about with the state. We also released a proposal and got quite a few applicants. And again, that same evaluation committee met, evaluated the proposals very closely. A lot of discussion, but at the end of the day, we are recommending that we do renew our contract with Van Scoyoc and Associates. And I would, at this time, also welcome any questions if you have them.
Is there any questions?
No questions, Chair. Ann McInerney Ogle. Again, I served on this evaluation committee and have no issues with appearance of fairness.
I do.
Yes, John.
Scott, would you say we are winners or are we losers when it comes to Washington, D.C. over the years? Are we givers or are we takers
No, I would say we're takers.
in the big
We're
scheme?
Yes.
We have done okay.
Yes. I think if you look at our, particularly through the FTA grant-related programs, but we've also, through our first two BRT projects, have been able to navigate kind of the FTA bureaucracy quite well, and that has enabled funding for both of our first two BRT lines to come through on Mill Plain really in almost record time in terms of being awarded some of those dollars even before we completed NEPA. Without getting too much into the weeds on this, I think we, between our own staff involvement, our CEO's involvement, as well as our lobbyists, all of those have kind of helped to be able to receive significant funding on the federal side, and we certainly hope and believe that will continue.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Chair.
Yes,
So,
Mr. Silver.
Scott, we were on track to be through in record time, so why are we now almost record time?
That's, it's a wonderful question. It's a great question. I think it probably still is. It's really hard in terms of when you start, that timer. I know we're one of, and if not, I probably would still say we are. But yeah, maybe it's a research project at some point in time in the near future. No, I hear you.
Tim? Oh, I thought you raised your hand. You were just poking your next door neighbor. Could you expand on that legislative representative for me?
In terms,
The one that you've been working with, and
Steve Palmer.
yes.
Yeah, so Steve was the former, I want to say he was a presidential appointee in the Department of Transportation back in the late 1990s, has a ton of experience on the Hill working not just with congressional staff, but with the FTA as well. C-Tran for a number of years now, every time we go back to Washington, D.C., we're meeting at least with the executive team at the Federal Transit Administration, and in many of those instances, we actually get to meet with the administrator as well. I will note we're looking forward to having the FTA administrator out here for our opening on September 30th. So we have, I think Steve has been able to help us open doors within the FTA, does a good job on the Hill with congressional staff. And then he also has good relationships with the committee staff and the senior committee staff. And the kind of the breadth of his experience and the opportunities that he helps us get when we go back to DC, I think are all reasons why the group feels comfortable moving forward with him. Did that answer your question?
I met him when I was back there in DC this year, and sometimes it's tough to read somebody, and I was not able to read him very well. So Anyway, so that's why I'm just curious a little bit more. I didn't know his background. So.
Okay.
Is there anybody else that has any questions? I would accept the motion on this contract award for federal legislative services.
Move to approve. Molly Coaston.
Second, Ann McInerney Ogul.
Been moved and seconded to approve the contract award for legislative services and the federal, I guess the number we have is 23-053. All those any questions or comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Thank you very much. We have up also a contract award for our legal services. That would be Mr. Sean. He just couldn't have a meeting that he didn't get to talk to till the end.
I thought this was Scott's, but I'll go ahead and take this one. On page 93 in the book, if you recall, a few months back, we had to extend our legal services while we were really sort of revamping the RFP, what we really wanted out of our legal services. And we got two responders in the proposal, Miller Nash and K&L Gates. And the action in front of the board today is to do a 2-year contract with K&L Gates with an option for 3 one-year extensions. Oh, wait, I got that wrong. That was the last one. A 1-year contract for legal services with an option to extend 4 one-year extensions upon mutual agreement. You know, Aaron's done a great job for us. I think K&L Gates has been with C-Tran for quite some time. So I was personally not on that committee, but I think the scores reflected what we see from our legal services, and I'd be happy to take any questions if anybody has any.
Board, any questions?
Chair Ann McInerney Ogul, I move approval.
Chair, I think we have a...
Oh,
Yes.
Sean, just a question, not questioning it, but wanting to better understand it because it's a considerable spend anticipated every year. What are the type of services that are provided? That aren't provided now?
Honestly, Aaron may be able to explain that a little better than I can. All I can tell you is it's a range of a lot of things we've done. They have quite a few experts, subject matter experts at K&L Gates that we used. We've used them for real estate acquisition. We've used them for BRT, FTA. We've used them for contracts on Youth Opportunity Pass. We've used them for really pretty much anything that would fall into a legal spectrum for us. They work a great deal with our procurement department, with Anthony on some of our contracts when we engage in some board action items. And so, you know, we're very fortunate to have really a legal companion that has the breadth of experience throughout the organization. It's not just Aaron. There are a lot of good folks at K&L that help us out with a myriad of different things.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Does that include liability? Suit, that thing, day-to-day operation? Are they those people as well?
So it depends on what it is. We have a risk pool that is managed through the state. And so when things happen on the street, typically the risk pool, the Washington State Insurance Risk Pool, which Scott Deutsch, I think he's in the back, he's actually the chair or the vice chair of WISTIP right now. That sort of moves around between the agencies. But depending on what type of a legal issue it is, it may go through WISTIP if it fits into the risk pool description. Things such as the issue we had with the Q Club many years ago, that was handled by K&L Gates. So it just sort of depends on what sort of bucket it falls in.
Didn't you ever have the opportunity?
To sue anyone?
No, that somebody wanted to find out or got sued.
Oh, I know.
I did. Had the same risk pool taking my back. So that's good. Any other questions or comments? You'd like to make that motion?
Ann McInerney Ogul, I still move approval.
Second, Molly Coaston.
It's been moved and seconded to accept the legal services from K&L Gates and for 1 year and an extension beyond that. So is there any questions or comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Thank you very much. With that, we go to communications. I only have one thing, and that is I will be, this was set up before the BRT was going to end on time, and so I will be in Montana, and I'm very sorry to miss that groundbreaking ceremony. So, not breaking ceremony, the finishing ceremony. At any rate, I am sorry that I will miss that, and I hope you all have a great time at it. So, that's all I have from the board. Anybody?
Yes.
Yes.
Chair, first of all, we have a great Facebook page that gives a number of wonderful opportunities for our community, and I would hope people would take a look at that. We have a wonderful Citizens Advisory Committee that needs some additional volunteers. These are 2-year terms. Meeting once a month, you get a free bus pass if you serve on that particular committee. But I noticed that the application is easily found on our website. We have until October 2nd. So let's encourage our colleagues and friends in the community, a number of different opportunities on that citizen advisory to fill. But also, please thank the folks who put up Thrive to Survive. That is coming up this Saturday. That's at Living Hope Church for individuals to have access to a lot of community resources that are available right there. And if individuals have clothing, coats, shoes that still have some good life into them, please drop that off at Living Hope Church for those individuals who are looking to get a little warmer for the winter time. So if you look through your closet and you've had a couple things in there, especially shoes, please bring them on over. But this Saturday, starting at 9 o'clock in the morning, and they'll be happy to take everything. But thank you for putting that information on Facebook.
Thank you. Anybody else from the board?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Yes. Please.
I have something that probably comes more from citizens in general and maybe less directed to specifically to CTRAN than to just transportation in general in our area. You probably all saw and heard, because it received so much publicity, a study that was done by the University of Washington that was on MAX trains. And I emphasize MAX trains, not CTRAN. And it was to find drug levels on the MAX trains. And the headlines say that they found low levels of fentanyl in about half of the samples that they took, and methamphetamine in every single sample. Well, then when you read on in the study, you find that they did a fairly thorough job of some aspects of whether it be touch on the seats and the backs or the air, but not a thorough investigation of both. But what they concluded was that this means that taking a sample from fentanyl was found in 45% of the MAX samples, and meth in 100% of the samples, and cocaine in 54% of the samples. So the next thing, though, that appeared in these articles, as you probably noticed, was that there were statements made by the people involved with public health in public transportation saying there is no threat to the general public from these study results. And individuals who use public transportation should feel confident of that fact. Now, the reason that I bring this up is because some people in the public who hear this say, really? I'd like to have my public transportation have no drugs found, no meth, no fentanyl, no cocaine. That is clearly not meant to be at this point in our society. But that is their hope and their wish. And they would like to know, is that true for more than just MAX trains? Or is it true for other modes of transportation as well? And I suspect that C-Tran is certainly on their mind. But there's a call to action that goes with this. And that is that TriMet made it clear that an assessment of the study makes it very real that we need to do as a community, certainly as a society, but that's too big for this board to tackle. Maybe not. We could give it a go, right? But the point being that it is important for those who have the possibility of affecting the outcome in a good way to make efforts to do what we can to have these data be better and to have them for sure, since our interest focuses on C-Tran, to make that be better. And then when we publish the data, to make it believable so that the public understands what is the truth. If there truly is no implication of harm for the public, then give us the data that back that up so that we know and understand exactly what is the truth on that. And we could go on about that for quite a while because it is an important topic and one for which there certainly is not an easy resolution at this point, but it is a critical aspect for our discussion and improvement. So that's the end of my comment.
Thank you very much. Is there anybody else that has a comment from the board? Thank you. Mr. Sean, you're up.
Thank you, Chair, members of the board. I would like to just take a second to acknowledge Director Bowerman's comments. To give you a little context on the study at large, the study itself was really born out of employee safety. So there are a few agencies that were involved in that: Sound Transit, King County, Community Transit, and TriMet. And the initial push within the study was to really evaluate not so much people who are moving on and off the bus, but people who may be on the bus quite frequently all day, 6, 7, 8 hours, and what that sort of creates in that environment. I would say my position as a transit person is I 100% agree with TriMet's statement that we need as a collective, we need to take a harder line against offenders of transit policy. I think I've told this board before, and I feel like C-Tran has really done a great job, and I think it's a function of what the board has allowed us to do, that in other areas, people typically try to lean on public transit to excuse public norms that they would not excuse in City Hall, they would not excuse at the grocery store. Things that sort of come to mind are houseless issues. There are large transit agencies that are often tasked with solving the houseless issue, and that's not necessarily a transit problem. Doesn't mean we can't help. It just means that it's a societal issue. And that's sort of what we've got here, right? We've got an issue where public transit was the main focus of this study. The grocery store wasn't a main focus of the study. The library wasn't a main focus of the study. The police department wasn't a main focus of the study. And my guess is that if we did those things in real time, we would find that we definitely have an issue. And I 100% agree with Director Bowerman on that comment that from a societal perspective, we all have a part to play, especially public transit, because we transport quite a few people. I mean, all transit systems do. We have a responsibility to be a part of that solution. The report, I think, is very specific to a few things. One, a lot of areas were tested. Yes. A lot of areas came back positive. but they were very infinitesimal amounts. But I think the one piece that I think Director Bowerman touches on is that even acceptable? And I do think that's a legitimate question. Is that acceptable for anyone, not just public transit? Is any trace amounts acceptable, and when does it become unacceptable? I do want to take an opportunity to thank our employees in our maintenance department. When I worked in Fort Worth before I came here, and when we got here, we have cleaners that are on our platforms, and that doesn't necessarily happen everywhere. And we were kind of doing that before it was the cool during COVID, and very proud of the fact that when we held the Washington State Transportation Conference, a lot of the comments we got from the participants were, is this the way your buses look all the time? And the answer to that is, hell yeah, it is, because we're proud of that. Every time a bus comes into the depot, our folks are doing a really good job of, Tim's group and even the operators. I mean, they're doing a good job of creating an environment where they're identifying potential issues that need to be addressed. Those buses are getting touched every trip, if not every other trip. And we're doing that all day long from about 7, 8 in the morning until late in the evening and on weekends. So we take a lot of pride in that. And we're certainly not suggesting that CTRAN is immune to the issues that are happening out in society, but we're also fully engaged in wanting to help resolve those issues. So I definitely appreciate those comments, and any way that we can help out to try to solve those issues, we're going to do that. So I just wanted to make sure that was out there. And Director Bowerman, I definitely appreciate your comments on that. So thank you. Julie and I are going to head to the American Bus Benchmarking Group Conference next week. It's a really good group that really talks about transit data. We really break down differences in services and how those things are impacted, and we really rip apart all the data. CTRAN is the immediate past president of that group, so we're pretty excited to show up this year and have a lot of good conversations. So we'll be out there next week in Jacksonville, barring any potential weather issues. On the 30th, please come join us for Red Vine, swag bags for everybody. Those scarves are a hot commodity. Don't tell anybody you got them. We're pretty excited. FTA administrator is scheduled to be here. I've known her for a long time. She's an amazing advocate for public transit. And the deputy administrator, she's amazing too. And so we're very lucky to have sort of people in the driver's seat at the federal level that have worked in public transit, in different modes of public transit. I mean, they get it. They're excited to come here. I mean, she's excited to come back after 2 years and really watch this thing sort of take off. And kudos to Scott and Randy and Taylor and Francisco and the team. I mean, they really just crushed this project. I mean, it's incredible. We get a lot of phone calls from our own Region 10 and also from the federal level for really agencies that are starting out that want to do a BRT project, and they send them to Scott because they know that we build a track record of getting things done on time and under budget, and that's really a testament to Scott and his group. This Thursday, we have the Washington State Transportation Commission coming down for a tour of the Interstate Bridge. CTRAN will be providing a bus for that tour, and we'll be there to provide any guidance necessary to the IBR. We always like to be around and speak on that topic. If you all know me, it's one of my favorite topics. So we'll definitely represent Southwest Washington exactly how it should be on this bridge project. I'm pretty excited about that. I do want to echo the mayor's comments about Thrive to Survive. Rory is awesome, and she's called us a few times, and we're always ready to help out where we can. She'll kind of give us an idea of where some of these events are happening in real time, and we'll give her the bus routes, and we post a lot of things inside the bus, and we're pretty excited about that. I mean, we always try to help out where we can, and it's huge. They do anything from having folks come in to visit with the DOL to get work IDs or driver's license, how to get access to really everything they need out on the street, and so it's pretty nice to see that happen in real time. And I think that's it, unless anybody has any questions for me.
Sean, you have a Fourth Plane Extension open house this Thursday?
Yes, Fourth Plane Extension open house coming up. And also next week, we're going to be at the Everett Street open house for Camas. So we're excited to be at both of those. Please come out and see us. Fourth Plane Extension is moving quickly. We will likely be in construction on Highway 99 and Fourth Plane Extension concurrently. So we're pretty excited about that. We want to get that network done so we can start working on the next phase of what CTRAN wants to do with high-capacity transit.
Thank you. Anybody else from the board have any questions? Seeing none, we'll move on to our legal counsel. Aaron.
Thank you, Board Chair. I just want to thank the entire board for the continued opportunity to serve as legal counsel for C-TRAN and the agency. It's really our privilege as a law firm to serve as legal counsel for the agency. And other than that, I have no further updates. Thank you all.
Okay, is there any questions? Seeing none, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much.
Yep. Very effective.